First swing from the lesson here, we got slow motion. So just a reminder, I would really recommend getting either a tripod or a clip for your phone. That way you can film yourself. We always want to practice with a purpose and make sure that, you are using the video so that we can ensure that you're practicing the right way. Now, if we watch your swing, this red line here's the plane line. And as you go back, takeaway looks pretty solid. And if you recall, the big theme here from the lesson was I mentioned you have a lack of depth. Now, depth, if we look at your hands right there, your hands are, there we go. Your hands are coming down over your shoelaces, where ideally we'd like your hands over the back of your heels. The reason why is because if you lack depth, you are going to come down steep and over the top of the plane. So you're a technical guy, and sometimes we can overanalyze things. So again, we really want to get your hands more over here. And again, we'll talk about how we achieve that. But if you just watch the swing, you're coming down a little bit steep. So here's the club head coming across the plane. Call this a little bit out to in. And with a club face closed relative to the path, that ball is going to start left and stay left. And you had asked, hey, why is your follow through kind of unique? I would suspect because your tendency is a pull, you are fighting to hold that face open to avoid the ball from going left. The brain's a lot smarter than we give it credit for. So top position, this is important just so you can see kind of where we would like you to get. Here's Robert Rock. He had won on the European Tour a couple times, but if I draw a line from the hands down, notice they're over the back of the heels, right? And he got there by turning back, turning the hips, and we talked about that trail shoulder. So we only want one swing thought at a time. Again, if you're golfing tomorrow, it would be turning back to get more depth. And I'll show you a neat drill later on. You can also see, again, his club is parallel to the flagstick or wherever he's aiming, where with you, again, this is what we call a little bit laid off, and it's just going to be hard to come in shallow when you lack depth and when you're laid off. Because, again, the momentum of that club is going to want to kick that way. Now, let's go to the after swing. You're going to find some remarkable improvement, at least in my opinion. Now, Mark, here was one of your ideal swings. Again, when you get on video, you're going to want to emulate this. So here we go. As you go back, and remember, we soften that trail arm a little bit. But as you go back and as you turn more and that elbow's not glued to your side, look how much better this is at the top. So we have a couple things going on. One, we have more depth. Those hands are over the back of the heels, just like Robert. How great is that? And without getting too technical, because of how he took the club back, watch what happens in the transition. Instead of the club getting steeper, the momentum is going to actually kick a little bit the other way. So you're coming down in a much better path. Same thing with Robert, right? Right there. That's the magic move. And again, we didn't have to think about that. This was just working on the backswing. So again, one thing at a time, right? Now again, he's coming in pretty shallow. If you wanted to ever draw the ball and clear some of these lines, like here's the club head, here's the hands. He's coming on an in to out path. But, for now, you came down on a better plane, and that's the main takeaway. The club head's right on the hands. You could play with that swing all day long and still hit some pretty decent shots. And we still have, that unique follow through. Again, that's not going to change overnight. And part of that, again, obviously, like I talked about, is as he rotates the hips. So here's impact, right? That's going to make the club work a little bit more around the body and the exit. So it's underneath the shoulder plane there. But again, that's another discussion. I don't want to throw 9 different things at you. Watch this clip more than once. That was a very good golf swing there. Now let's look at the face-on view. Now here we are from the face on view, right? So the camera is aimed, at the sternum or belt buckle. And if we watch as you go back here, this was the before swing. That right elbow is glued to the side, which we do not want. And just to prove this, whether it's a Robert Rock, a Fleetwood, or a senior tour player, it doesn't really matter for their age. Most of the guys are going to have this pattern right there. We can see a nice little opening between the right elbow and the body. That's going to allow the freedom for that shoulder to turn back, right? And again, these young athletic guys, they're going to restrict their hip turn. We don't need you to be doing that, but we do want to avoid your right elbow from kind of being jammed up there. So the definition of width, you might have heard me say, let's get more width or wider, is, again, the swing arc radius, right? We want the hands extending farther away from the body. That will help you turn more. Because here, like you pointed out in the range today, we can still see your right shoulder. And again, back from the down the line view, when you don't turn, what happens? We don't have enough depth. We don't have enough depth. We're coming down too much across the ball. So long term, again, we would like a little bit more lag or shaft lean with the irons to compress the ball. But again, that's too much to think about, right? We got to keep this simple. Once we get that backswing as a habit, we can start to talk about the hips, because as you initiate the body, the downswing with the lower body, I should say, that will move the hands forward. And if the hands are forward, you'll get more club lean, right? And here's a good example of that. Here's Tommy Fleetwood. Watch the transition. So he's advancing laterally, but he's also really opening the hips. That way the hands are ahead and the club head is behind. But again, this is more of an informational piece. We don't need to be thinking about that. I just want you to do two things. From the other view, the down the line, we want turning more to get depth. And again, from this view, we want more width, right? We want wider. Now here's an example of making a better turn. Remember, one of the drills you can do is always put a noodle and play around with that to make sure that you're not cutting across the ball. In that setup, we would like to see the club leaning a little more this way versus sitting back. But nonetheless, watch how much better this is. Here's your takeaway. And check out this area right here. What do you notice? I see some space between the right elbow and the body. That's super. Kind of looks like Tommy Fleetwood, right? Because of that, you are making a way better turn. That shoulder is now back behind you where we can't see it. So again, it's not so much about how far back you're going as it is just turning properly. Right, so this is certainly a lot better than before. And again, on the way down, so the pattern is wide to narrow. There's that right elbow digging in on the way down. But again, we don't need to be thinking about that. This is, once again, just informational pieces. So long term will get you to be shifting your weight and rotating through the shot better. That way you'll be able to be getting some more forward lean to compress the ball. But this is really a nice job you did, Mark. So here's a great drill you can do indoors. This is me. We're just going to take one step forward away from a wall. Now the goal of this drill is to help you achieve depth. So we're going to go very slow on the way back. We're turning the shoulder, right? Turning the hips. And the goal of this is to get that trail elbow, the trail hands, and the club all up against the wall. Again, very slow motion. We don't want that club going through the drywall. And notice how everything is pointing down towards the flagstick. So the beauty of this drill, it's making something complicated simple, right? We're going to achieve depth. And also, I can't get the club too laid off. Laid off would be pointing this way or else you're going to hit the wall, right? So let's watch this one more time. Just nice and slow, going back. We can even check the position here. You're going to see me turn and look to make sure I'm in the right spot. So I would do this a lot. And what's kind of cool about this, let's take a Rory McIlroy. If he were at the top of his swing right there, so here he is going, here's the top, what do you notice? Trail arm, wrist, club, all up against that wall there. So this is the definition of depth, right? We draw a line, his hands are back over the back of the heels there. Where historically, remember, your hands would be more over the sternum.